militarii grănicieri trebuiau să respecte
Chief of Military Court of Justice, Timișoara. The border soldiers had to observe provisions of Decree 367, 1971, regarding weapons and ammunition, which gave a description of the circumstances under which the border soldiers were allowed to legally open fire. I can tell you that those who did fell under the indictment of murder or attempted murder. It is certain that opening fire implies at least an indirect attempt at killing the person aimed at. You couldn't envy the sentries, standing on guard on the border in all kinds of weather. They were only 19 or 20. Difficult for them to decide for themselves whether to open fire or not to do so.
Tot într-o situație destul de delicată de a aprecia el singur dacă este cazul sau nu să deschidă focul.
Nikolai Jelisch, retired Austrian citizen in Vienna, defected in 1970, passed through Czechoslovakia. Mihai Mick, dentist, Austrian citizen in Vienna, swam across the Danube at Devici in 1977. Amos Chita, music teacher, Austrian citizen in Vienna, illegally stayed in Italy in 1980. Billy Fitz, engineer, German citizen in Regensburg, crossed the border at Deta in 1981. Alexandru Ciză, worker, Austrian citizen in Vienna, illegal crossing on second attempt at Naidas in 1982. Daniel Ungureanu, technician, Austrian citizen in Vienna, crossed over at Nedlig in 1987. Mihai Drinovan, pastry cook, American citizen in New York, crossed the Danube in a boat at Moldova Nua in 1983. Columbia Capitana, waiter, and daughter Sarasula, Austrian citizen in Vienna, crossed the border to Hungary in 1988. Otmar Funk, school teacher, German citizen in Regensburg, crossed the border at Tritici in 1989. Doru Briscan, shot dead at 19 on the frontier near Jimbolea in 1988. I set out this way down the Nera River. This area was better guarded, and the frontier soldiers were, most of them, my friends. I knew they would get into trouble if I had crossed on their territory. So I chose a different area, where at least I didn't know anybody personally. Swimming across the Danube seemed more congenial, less guarded, too. We had a guide. In our group, there were, shall I call them, gypsies, clean and freshly shaved, hair-dressed, and ties, just like in the movies. Do you need work? They asked. Yes, we said. Just work? Surely nothing else? Sure, we said, knowing the frontier was just 1 or 2 miles away. We got on his cart, and he took us to his vineyard. We didn't have any luggage, just clothes for one change. The first day, when the wind didn't blow, was to be the day to cross. Monday morning, we met in school at about 10 o'clock during the break. The wind did not blow, so we said, now is the time. We went home, I changed clothes, took out my rucksack, a fishing rod, stuff, dressed up like a fisherman, and went up to the Danube. We were 8 who wanted to cross over, and 7 of us did. Well, the 8th got cold feet and turned back to a gas station where he met a border officer. Much later, we found out that the officer took him in, and he was jailed for 3 years.
S-a întors înapoi și a fost închis 3 ani de zile. Ne-am continuat munca până seara.
We worked till night, then went to the dorms and decided, me and my friend, that we had to do something that very night before they read our minds. Knowing that my wife was in Austria already, and that I had served time for 6 months, he could have easily checked on me, calling at my place or in Rișița. A good thing he didn't. So at night we set off. It was the end, well, about the end of October in 1989, last of the Saturday nights. We started at 7 in Timișoara. We were taken to Arad. Next we walked towards the frontier. No villages, straight across the fields, for about 4 hours on foot.
Am mers vreo 4 ore pe jos. Am făcut 7 zile, 8 zile.
For 7 or 8 days we stayed in the woods and studied the place, and on the 9th we finally crossed. We had to decide which way to go. I stood and watched the sentry, and we made up our minds about the route. We saw the new sentry coming, so we said, now. And then all of a sudden one of the sentry was off and the other was on. Couldn't make it out how, but so we stayed on for 3 more hours just to see what would happen. We noticed that the latter was shorter. The tall one had no cap on. We could have walked straight into their arms.
Majoritatea se așteptau să se treacă.
Most of the people crossed during the night, so we tried to make the most of the calm during the daytime.
Pe zi, totul era foarte calm.
Thought they'd take no notice, seeing us being so young. We went straight on, and we got across safe and sound.
Am profitat și am ajuns cu bine pe partea cealaltă.
Am plecat în direcția stației de autobuz și am venit pe drum până aici.
I got off at the bus station and came down the road up to here. It was perfectly dark under those 2 large high trees.
Atât de mari. De altfel era o noapte cu
Above, the moon was full and round. That was pretty good for me to see, and for the sentries, and for them to clearly see all around.
Care, după cum vedeți, acolo e un post de control și aveau în vedere toată partea asta.
We'd walked too fast and got there 1 hour too soon. So we stayed in a ditch and ate what we had brought with us.
Și am mâncat ce am luat cu noi. A trecut ora respectivă, am mers mai departe.
Then we left again. It must have been someplace near Curții or Granițeri. We passed by a cemetery and through a cornfield. The moon rose. I'll never forget it.
N-am să uit asta.
One of us had the wrong T-shirt. It was white. Could have been easily spotted.
S-ar fi putut vedea de la distanță. Am ajuns în porțiunea unde era trestie.
I crossed over and into the reeds.
M-am oprit pe mal. Mi-am dat hainele jos.
I stopped on the shore. I undressed, opened my sack where I had my swimming flags.
Această sacoșă în care aveam labele de not și
also I had a small case with clothes for the trip and for the food for 3 days.
Cofăr mic în care aveam hainele pentru drum și mâncare pentru 3 zile.
Am trecut un gard, am trecut un canal.
We crossed over a fence and a canal and then reached flat land.
Ajungem pe câmp deschis, pe câmp. Era miriște.
The wheat was close cropped, and we headed on to the frontier.
Ne-am îndreptat spre frontieră.
A 9-a zi am tăiat-o.
On the 9th day, we left for the frontier. We reached the hedge and started through it until we got to the wire fence. We said, "Oh no." The soldier passed us by. When we saw that we might, he led us straight through his territory. When we were about 20 meters from their headquarters, we saw the gate and a hole about 20 by 40 centimeters under it. So we squeezed our luggage under. When we were about to pass ourselves, here come the soldiers, both of them talking, and we were lucky. The dog was not in front, for it had been, we would have been caught for sure.
În sfârșit am auzit și un zgomot.
We ran, ducked,
Ne-am lăsat
and thought we heard a click and froze.
și ni s-a părut că este un clicket metalic.
For how long, we couldn't tell.
În asemenea momente
2 such minutes may have seemed like
ți se
forever.
pare o veșnicie. În
And the
sfârșit,
bravest of us stood up and said,
s-a ridicat
"Let's go
și a
on."
spus, "Mergem mai departe."
Din partea stânga noastră, cum mergeam noi, mai aplecați așa că era lună, de la
To our left, as we were nearing the frontier, all bent, not to be spotted in the moonlight, we heard another click at a short distance.
Am auzit din stânga un zgomot. Eu am făcut armata și știu cum este.
I knew it because I've been in the army. It's when the soldier walks gun to shoulder and bayonet at hip, and when 2 weapons touch, they make that sound. So I knew it was the border soldiers. We lay low in the field, flat land, no hills, nothing. They draw near, cluttering, and behind them the dog, who suddenly started barking at me. I knew if you moved, the dog would attack. So I thought, "Don't you move." The dog barked at my feet, and the soldier said, "Shut up! Get in here in front! Didn't I tell you so? Get in front!" The soldier said and came 2, 3 steps back. I thought that was it. It was 3 in the morning. No moon, no nothing. Seeing the soldier come for him, the dog finally took off. My friend said, "I can't move. I still hear steps." Then he moved away from me and said, "Now I don't." Then came back and said, "Now I do again." Well, it was my heart beating so loud. This soldier, come to think of it, was probably expecting to be released, walking like in a park, looking straight ahead, neither to his left nor right.
Mergea nici în stânga, nu se uita nici în dreapta.
Am căutat să-mi creez o alură cât mai normală.
I tried to look as normal as possible, wearing a suit, a white shirt, a tie, and an umbrella, which was not for keeping me dry from the Danube, but from looking like I'd just swum across it by night.
Sigur, nu mi-a ajutat să nu mă ud în Dunăre, dar mi-a ajutat să creez o alură a unui om care nu a trecut în timpul nopții Dunărea.
I had them all packed in 3 plastic bags, leaving some air in each so that the case floated. It also served as a safety airbag.
În fiecare era și ceva aer, încât toată greutatea acestei valize se păstra de la sine și în același timp era ca un colac de salvare. Nu mai plouase de mult.
It hadn't rained for a long time, sheer luck, for the field was a swamp with a dry crust at the surface.
O crustă uscată de deasupra.
We still sank in mud up to our knees.
Ne-am înfundat în nămol.
A fost septembrie, pot să vă zic și ziua, 29 septembrie.
It was September 28th. You won't forget that day or that night.
Nu poți să-l uiți sau ziua nu poți să uiți că e o întâmplare în viața ta.
It's something that, well, can change your life, your feelings.
Multe sentimente în tine.
You learn about fear and about success.
ci este și o împlinire undeva.
Când am trecut granița.
When we crossed the border, I thought, who knows when I'm going to see my family again? I even felt like crying and crossing the line. Thought maybe I'll never see again my grandma and grandpa.
Nu să mai văd pe bunica mea sau pe bunica mea.
M-am gândit ultima oară, omule, tu renunți la atât de mult.
Last thing I thought of was, man, you give up so much. You do have a family, you have a parent, a home, a car, which meant a lot at that time. You have a job where they like you, all for what?
Un loc de muncă în care oamenii te apreciază și unde ți-ai făcut deja în scurtul timp un pic de nume.
Still, hope and belief in myself prompted the thought. I had to get over these feelings and move on to my future.
Speranța și credința mea în mine însumi m-a făcut să mă hotărăsc, da, trebuie să depășesc acest moment sufletesc și să o iau la not spre viitorul meu.
As we left, every time we stepped on those peppers, they'd make a noise like we walked on bombs, and we'd have to lay low again.
O să ajung într-o zonă în care, din punctul de control, m-ar putea vedea. Am încercat să not de așa manieră încât să nu creez valuri și să creez impresia unui obiect care este purtat de Dunăre. Din cauza asta, trecerea mea nu a fost foarte perpendiculară, ci m-am lăsat să mă ducă Dunărea și în felul ăsta m-am apropiat foarte mult de orașul Gradiște. Am ajuns pe partea cealaltă a canalului, a fost prima sârmă ghimpată.
When we crossed the canal, there was the first line of barbed wire. We walked between two rows of wire.
Și am ajuns pe fâșie, altă sârmă ghimpată.
We got to the borderline, and another row of barbed wire. And suddenly I could feel right through my shoes that the texture of the field was smoother. So now I knew it was Hungary.
Și am zis că asta e deja Ungaria.
De-abia atunci am observat frontiera.
Only then did we notice we were right on the borderline, smoothly raked. We passed across and entered Yugoslavia.
Acum aveam teama și frica.
Now we were afraid we may not have crossed after all, and we might still be in Romania.
Suntem în Iugoslavia sau dacă suntem încă pe teritoriul României. Mergând pe câmp.
Then we saw an empty pack of cigarettes, labeled in Serbian, and we thought, it's okay.
E bine.
Eu nu sunt fumător, dar în momentul acela
I'm no smoker, and then I asked for a cigarette. I could smoke, and how relieved.
Am cerut și o țigară de ușurare să fumez și eu. Nervii erau foarte încordați.
Everybody was tense, and we kept walking till we got to a village, all lit up. That was news for us. Small place like that lit up at 2:30 in the morning. So that was the first place in Hungary. When I got to Yugoslavia, I felt free. I thought, what can happen to me now? I felt free. We knew that if we were caught anywhere near the border, we risked being sent back, so we meant to get as deep as possible into the country. We stopped a truck and tried to explain to the driver that our car had broken down. We were Italians by foot, and said, "You're wetbacks." We asked about the way to Belgrade. Chisinau was practically a railway station away. and 2 people were there to guard it. As we passed, one of them shouted at us in Serbian, probably to stop, but we spoke no Serbian and didn't answer. We walked on for about 5 minutes when a Serbian militia, Zastavas, neared us, asked for our papers. We didn't have any. Asked if we were Romanians, we said we were. Arrested us and sent us to jail immediately. When we got on the bus, everybody spoke Romanian. We're Italians. We want tickets for Belgrade, we said. Okay, the driver said. We've got 2 Romanians here. We kept saying, what Romanians? We're Italians. We had money and wanted to pay. The ticket man said, I give you tickets to where you want, and from there to Belgrade. Just don't talk. We kept mum.
Ca să o duceți, dar nu vorbiți nimic. Nu am vorbit nimic. A fost foarte greu, cu multe peripeții.
It was tough, a lot of adventures. First we were expecting to be shot, but weren't spotted until we stepped on Hungarian land.
Cum se auzea și poate chiar gloanțe, dar am trecut fără să avem surprize.
There, a frontier patrol took us on to their headquarters. And we were treated well. Thanks, given blankets. We were wet from crossing a canal. The room was warm. We were given a hot tea, food, and we had no problems with them at all.
Să avem niciun fel de probleme cu ei.
Eram toți mocirliți, ca vai de noi arătam.
We were such a sight to see, all dirty, and as young cyclists came down the road, we stopped him and asked about the police station.
Un băiat mai tânăr, ne-am gândit să-l oprim să-l întrebăm unde este poliția.
He told us, and when we got where we thought it was, we rang the bell. They were the frontier police.
De rigoare. Și când am ajuns, credeam că este poliția, am sunat la poartă, era o unitate de grăniceri.
We woke up the soldier on duty, told him who we were and what we wanted. He invited us in.
Și am spus de unde venim și ce vrem, spus haideți înăuntru.
Majoritatea din celor care au trecut în Iugoslavia
Many of these crossings to Yugoslavia gave themselves up, about, say, 15 to 20%. The rest were caught at the Italian frontier. Now I realize why it took 4 to 5 hours in Belgrade before they'd even listened to us. Probably a few surrendered just like that.
Probabil nu se întâmpla în fiecare zi ca cineva să se predea.
2-3 dintre noi știau și limba maghiară.
Some of us could speak Hungarian, so language for us was no problem. We were told to take a shower.
Și la 7 dimineața ne-au trezit.
We changed into clean clothes. We were wakened at 7 in the morning and given a breakfast I'll never forget. Why? Well, it wasn't much just hot tea with lemon. White bread that was fresh and soft, like I'd never eaten in years. Butter, salami. Not a big thing for them.
Caburetele proaspătă, foarte bună. N-am mai mâncat de ani de zile așa o pâine bună. Salam, unt. Deci, de fapt, pentru ei nu era mare lucru.
But for the first time in a long while, I felt I was treated like a human being.
After a while, a month or 2, another dentist came, Mr. Hortolomei, with wife and family. All watched them, saying after the first dentist, he'll run too. He said nothing, and one day he took a bicycle from an old man and set on for the pond, to Bazia și Nienera. There were some vegetables gardens there, tomatoes.
Erau lângă Nera niște grădini, unde avea CAP-ul, zarzavaturi din astea roșii, ce știu.
And everybody was working. And the doctor dropped the bike and ran to them, to the Nera River.
Spre Nera, deci spre graniță.
So the people shouted, "Where are you going, doctor?" But he jumped right into the river, and by the time the militia came, he was well across.
Didn't they try to shoot at him?
They didn't, and after the second doctor ran away, the militia were watching us, so any other dentist was sure to run away too. During that time, about 20 years ago, all you could hear was 4 or 5 more and 5, 6 more. He ran and him too.
What about the border soldiers?
They couldn't help it. I can't tell if they were arrested for it, but it was unstoppable. And the gardens were watched so. They caught a man who tried to cross through his own garden. Then they watched him, so that by the revolution time he was still here, alone in his family, for his sister and brother-in-law were gone. A whole generation is missing in Sokol from that period, the 35 to 40-year-olders. They're all abroad. Some came to visit before the revolution, others after, and they're all doing a lot better than us who stayed.
Aranjați acolo, cel puțin îi vedem mult mai buni decât noi, care am rămas.